Welcome back to Real Talk right here on OG Sports TV. This week we're talking about the JJ Watt signing in Arizona and the Russell Wilson drama in Seattle. Are they really going to trade him? We'll talk about it. Let's go. All right. You guys like that? That was pretty cool, right? All right, we're starting off with the J.J. Watt signing in Arizona. He signed with the Cardinals for 2 years and $31 million, $23 million guaranteed. This was a bit of a surprise because all the reports coming out were talking about that he wanted to sign with a team that had a really good opportunity to win a Super Bowl now. That's what he wanted. He was valuing that over the big money. But it turns out that he was sitting on the fence. He wanted to have his cake and eat it too because he signed with a good team. Arizona's a decent team with a lot of potential, and he got a little bit of a bag from them. So like, good on you, JJ. You found the best of both worlds. It was a bit of a surprise. I did not think that the Cardinals would be in the running for him. I didn't even think about them. I've been thinking about teams that could potentially get him, but it came out that he chose them over the Bills. So we weren't completely wrong. I absolutely love that he announced it himself on Twitter. There was a story, I don't know how true it is, but that he narrowed it down to a couple of teams, and he had T-shirts. He ordered T-shirts online to when he finally chose, and he, instead of sending it to his house because he didn't trust the delivery guy, he sent it to a friend's house. So I thought that was funny. And also, let's talk about this fit in Arizona just for a little bit. We don't have to spend too much time on it, but this was a team last year who underachieved really after we saw what they were capable of. Going into the year, we didn't think that they would be contending for the division really. We just wanted to see Kyler Murray take a step forward, which he did at times. He had a really inconsistent year, and the offense really lacks some explosiveness at times, and which is kind of surprising when you have an offense with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. But that's what the case was. They were inconsistent. They had really great games sometimes, and then you have games like, well, it looks like they were incredible, like the blowout one they had over the Cowboys. But then you look at the stats, and Kyler Murray completed 9 passes. So it's just it's interesting. They won a lot of games based on their really standout outperforming defense, who is gonna be interesting to see how they do because now they have JJ Watt on one side of the line and they have Chandler Jones on the other side of the line, the two leaders in sacks since 2012. But you have all these people leaving or potentially leaving free agency from your secondary, including your two starting corners. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Hopefully, Arizona can keep at least one of these guys, and then reload on defense in the draft. Because if they do, and if Kyler Murray comes out is consistent, and maybe they add one more weapon on offense, I think it's gonna be a fun team. It's gonna be a scary team in a really good division. So we'll see. I think pairing JJ Watt with Chandler Jones will really reduce the likelihood of either of them getting double teamed very often, and that's good news for both of them. This is going to be a fun defense, and I think they'll get to the quarterback a good bit. So I'm happy for him. It's going to be a fun time. Next, we're going to talk about Russell Wilson. So this has been a little bit of a roller coaster, and as Kevin Clark says, the Seahawks has never played a normal game. Well, the Seahawks aren't having a normal offseason right now. Russell Wilson, it came out maybe a week or two ago that Russell Wilson didn't want to be traded in Seattle, but he wasn't exactly happy with the situation that was going on at the moment. He thinks that they aren't doing enough to provide him with support on the offensive line and the offensive weapons. And I think he thinks that he views himself higher than he's currently viewed by the league and by just the world in general. And he thinks that he's not going to be able to succeed what he wants to succeed individually while still in Seattle, which I kind of think he has a point. If Russell Wilson truly believes that he's a top 5 quarterback all time, he's not going to be viewed as that by the public, by the media, by the fans if he stays there, because they've shown that they don't want to hand him the keys completely. They've shown the whole let Russ cook movement. He had a fun little few weeks in the beginning of the year when they were putting up great offensive numbers, and then they start running the ball again, and then Russ has a stinker game. Russ gets sacked a bunch of times, and granted, not all of these sacks are on the offensive line. Some of them are on Russ for holding the ball too long or running into pressure. But as it'll be interesting to see what happens with this. It came out that there was a report. It was like, oh, he doesn't want to be traded, but here's teams that he would accept a trade to. And then it came out today or yesterday, by the time that you're watching this video, that the Seahawks are starting to take calls on him, and it's like, man, when this first came out, I didn't think there was any chance of him being traded. I barely even talked about it, and now it seems like we're gearing towards this, and it's just very, it seems almost out of nowhere, but it just seems to be escalating as we go. So he mentioned in those four little teams, he mentioned the Raiders, the Bears, the Saints, and the Cowboys, and of those teams, well, the Saints aren't realistic because they're in cap hell. They're the worst cap situation in the NFL. And Wilson has a $32 million cap hit next year, so count the Saints out. The Raiders seem ultra committed to Derek Carr, and unless that's smoke, count the Raiders out. So you leave that leaves the Bears and the Cowboys are the teams that he's willing to get traded to, per reports. Well, the Cowboys are in the situation with Dak Prescott. The only way that, like, let's say that the Cowboys want to do this. The only way that that happens is if you tag Dak and trade him. But I don't know how a trade like that would work out, and it seems like a lot of hoops to jump through when you can just sign your guy long term, which is what I believe and what all the reports say that they want to do anyway. So let's just say that they do that, which is a big if, but let's just say that they do that. That takes the Cowboys out, so that leaves the Bears. And the Bears, now, you at first glance is like, oh man, that doesn't sound good for Russell. But let's say he goes to the Bears. And let's say he makes them legitimate. Let's say he goes there, he makes them division winners again, and he makes them NFC contenders again. And let's say he even wins a Super Bowl by the time he's done there. That completely changes his legacy, because the Bears are a historic NFL cornerstone team that have fallen into mediocrity recently. And like, man, they have to get out of this Mr. Trubisky, Nick Foles era. They need a quarterback, man. Because the Bears are too good. The Bears are too much of an NFL just superstar era team to be where they are now. The Bears are with the Cowboys, with the Packers, with the Steelers, of teams that have always been prevalent and relevant and just big teams in the NFL, and they're just not there right now, and it's sad to see. So I think that would be awesome if he were to go there, but in the end, I still don't think Seattle trades him. And I don't see what they get out of trading him either, other than, like, obviously the return. But that's not what I'm talking about. Like, there's no lateral move that seems realistic for Seattle. So if they end up trading him, it says we're gonna rebuild. I don't think you need to rebuild, because as long as you have Russell Wilson, you're a contender. Or think about this: the Seahawks were 12-4 last year, and they won the division. They were 12-4 when they were 15th in team defense. So think about this. If they invest in the offensive line this offseason, whether that be in free agency or the draft, and then say they draft one wide receiver, they don't really need one, but like one wide receiver, a little slot guy to go with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and they invest in the offensive line and just don't get worse on defense. All that seems pretty doable, right? I'm not asking a whole lot here. Well, if you do that, then you're a Super Bowl team again. And it's just like, it seems so easy. I don't know why the Seahawks aren't doing it. If I'm Seattle, I'd rather trade Pete Carroll than trade Russ. Is that crazy? Tell me in the comments if you think this is crazy. Like, I don't get what you get out of Russ unless you really want to rebuild now. And I don't think that you have to. So I think they need to do what they can to make Russ happy. They need to invest in the offensive line as much as they can. And they need to get another weapon. It's not a priority as much as the offensive line is, but invest in the offensive line and don't get worse on defense, because you're 12-4 with exactly middle of the road defense. So as long as you don't get worse, you're a Super Bowl team. So I don't think they should trade him, and I don't think they will trade him, but it will be interesting to see how this all works out. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below. Do you think the Seahawks trade Russell Wilson? I don't think they will, but you guys let me know what you think. Like if you like, subscribe if you're new. Shout out to all my OGs out there. Remember, be kind to someone today. That's real talk.